and that we need to do, and like it's all actually under on a mission to help people strip back all of that, all of those layers, peel it all back to really what is within, the essence, beyond that,
beyond the shoulds and into
the
the must.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. I want to open a little bit more space here now, because I'm super curious. We saw some beautiful things in the chat around how the asemic writing practice was for people. I'm curious if there's anything else that you want to be witnessed in terms of the last week before we move forward. Anything that any of you are feeling called to share around the pleasure mapping experience, or around like finding a repetitive gesture. Yes, I can definitely turn down the music, and thank you for asking. It's a delicate balance. Yeah, just want to open up a little bit more space. Was there any specific point of challenge with those exercises, or any specific point of expansion for anyone?
I'll say something.
Yeah. Hi, Tammy.
Hello. I feel like this kind of goes along with my word of trust, because at one point when we were doing the practice, you were like, if there's something that feels really good, you can do it again. Like, you don't have to just make all these new shapes and letters every time. And then I did that. Like, I was like, oh, that's allowed too. Like, I feel like in a way it kind of expanded my view of what I can do, even when it comes to like repetition. So yeah, just trusting what wants to come out, even if it's the same.
I love that. And I feel like we could spend a whole week itself on this concept of repetition as a way of accessing like trance and flow states. I think I mentioned in the course material around like the whirling dervishes and like the Sufi act of like whirling, right? Like how that opens up that rhythm, and that repetition opens up this space for recognition, where the like thinking mind is engaged in just kind of a repetitious task, and then that way we enter into flow. I mean, you can see this in like a lot of different things as well, right? Like running is a flow state in that way, the repetition of the steps. But I think it's cool to extend it into our creative practice, because we have this story that novelty is very important, always doing something new, always like pushing something along. And then like also you see these examples of like the best songs are just very simple and repetitive in some ways. So it's a good reminder, like there's a real beauty in the simplicity of repetition, and a lot of space there for the unfurling and the discovery and for new insights to come through. I'm really happy that was effective for you, Tammy. It's cool.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Evelyn.
On that note of repetition, it brought me into ways that I already do things in repetition, and I realized when I chant on a mala or a tasbih, like that motion and feeling my thumbs and my fingers like touch wooden beads, for me it's wooden beads, became one of my like extra noticings of the week. And that brought me also into like, there was so much energy around looking at attraction from all different angles, and like, where is the influence? What's really happening? And also just that like heart attraction to like what is guiding me in the day, but also just I don't know, like it just conversations with people became oriented around that too. So it really touched a lot of aspects of my week. And it also, I've been noticing a pattern happening now in this cohort is every week I have like a public art moment that is unexpected that happens. And so this last week I channeled some paintings while my sister did Reiki at an ecstatic dance, and we've never done that before. Just we had the idea and made it happen, and that was like true pleasure there, like the state that I was able to drop into, and while energy healing is happening, while dance is happening, like that repetition of a beat too. It's like it all kind of culminated into a moment that closed out the week, which was fascinating. Yeah.
I'm hearing the magnetism is on for you this week, and that you're continuing to happen upon opportunities to be more visible, which is so cool because that's exactly what we're talking about this coming week. And also something so interesting that I've been noticing is that the astrology kind of seems to be supporting us the last few weeks. We just are coming out of this like full moon in Leo, which was very much about visibility, and now Neptune being in Aries, it's also more about like stepping into it being seen. So there's a lot of support from a lot of different angles.
Yeah, true.
Okay, anybody else before we move forward? Noticing the 2 white cats in the chat too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I actually thought at one point that you were both living together, and then the cat had gone into the other room because it was it's so funny.
I was about to say you can't see it, but there is a black cat on the chat too.
Oh, nice.
Couch. Just
Yin and yang.
Full camouflage right now.
Yeah. Also, just want to name you May at some point here, the cat that's in this space, and probably already did. That might happen again. So,
very vocal. Yeah.
She's very vocal. Yeah. She voices her needs. She's teaching me a lot.
Yeah. Right. So shifting back and forth in the seat, just kind of finding your long spine again. Harriet is going to share an embodiment practice and meditation. Is there anything that you want to say to help kind of frame the experience? Anything that they need to know coming in?
No, I feel like it's, connecting with, inner power. But I guess, all I would say is just being a witness to, it makes more sense as I start to guide us through. But as always with, somatic work, just being an observer to what comes up, and if things are, that's surprises, or things come into your awareness, just being an observer to them, being a witness without getting caught up in the story of it. Okay, I need to go and change this now. I need to go after this, just being like, that's come in, and letting it just, it will find you,
Wonderful.
It will find you.
Awesome. I'm so excited to receive this. I'm just going to fully drop into
please.
Like receiving this meditation from you. And take front and center.
Great. So everyone just coming into you can lay down as well. You don't have to sit up. But just coming into a comfortable position for you. And if you're laying down, if you're sitting up, just starting to feel the earth beneath you supporting you. Just starting to close down the eyes or softening your gaze and just turning inward. Starting to slow down your breath and deepen it. Feeling the earth supporting you, holding you in this moment. There is nothing for you to do, just be. On your next deep breath, I invite you to exhale with a sigh. So breathing in deeply, expanding, and letting go. And again, breathing deeply, letting everything, all the tension, anything just drop. Just noticing how your body's feeling in this moment, in this space. Observing, witnessing anything that's flowing through you, any sensations. From this place of groundedness, feeling supported and rooted, I'm going to guide us into a visualization. So I'd like you to bring into your mind, into your awareness, yourself, living, moving in your fullest expression. And just observing this part of you that's radiating, that's in their power. It's confident and magnetic. The sun is shining, and you're just gliding through the space that you are in, that you can visualize. And just observe this part of you. Just take them in. Maybe they're on their own, walking around. Maybe they're in connection. They're conversing. Maybe they're doing something. But just really watch them, observe them. How are they moving? As they radiate this power and this truth, how are they moving through the world? How do they look? Outwardly, how is this inner power within them radiating outwardly? How does this feel? This energy as a sensation, is it excitable or is it calm? How are they speaking? How are they sharing, vocalizing their truth from this place of confidence? How are they sharing their art, their expression with the world? Just allowing yourself, as you observe them, just to drop into this energetic field, which is you, which is a part of you, but how it feels to be in their presence. And just being with that sense of power and what that means for you. And now imagining the distance between you and them is drawing near. They see you, you see them. They invite you into their magnetism, into their space. They reach out a hand and they pull you in, invite you in. And from here, you start to merge with this part of you. Maybe it's through an embrace. And as you stand there, or maybe you're dancing together, maybe you're just observing and looking at each other. But as you do, you start to merge with this part of you. And with this, noticing in your body how this feels. How is this power, this sense of confidence and truth and full expression, unapologetically expressed, feeling for you in your body as you connect with this part? And where is this inner power felt the most in your body? Is it in one area, or is it flowing? Is it fast or slow? Is it calm or excitable? And just breathing and expanding as you do this sense of power until your whole body is radiating with truth, feeling whole, feeling enough exactly as you are, in your truth, in your essence. Just continuing to be with this feeling, helping your body familiarize with it, this state.
And from this place of grounded inner power and truth, in your fullest expression, I'd like you to bring into your awareness your creative practice, or a creative practice. You might have many. And just visualizing yourself creating from a pure place of joy, bliss, presence. And from this place, within your creative practice, becoming aware of the environment you're in as you're creating. This might be familiar to you, it might be your current place, but it might not be. So just be open to what comes through now. And just feeling into how this environment is supporting and nourishing you. What aspects are feeling expansive versus restrictive when it comes to your inner power and your fullest expression. So what aspects of your environment where you create are feeling expansive? Just really noticing in your body where you're feeling this expansiveness, and maybe areas of restriction. And as I mentioned at the beginning, just being an observer. So how your body is reacting within your physical space where you create. And now bringing into awareness some daily habits, some creative habits, little rituals you have before, or during, or after creating. Which of these habits and rituals feel nourishing? Maybe they ground you, bring you back to your why, to your purpose, into presence. So just visualizing yourself in your space with your creative rituals. Are there any habits or rituals that aren't aligning with you anymore and who you are now? Maybe they're feeling a bit distracting or unhelpful now, but maybe once they didn't. Once again, just being aware in your body of what feels expansive
what helps you radiate your truth and your power, versus what dims that light and what isn't serving you anymore. Remembering to breathe, let things flow through. And now lastly, bringing to awareness connection, relationships. Which connections for you right now uplift you, bring you back into remembrance, remind you, of your essence. Maybe these connections you feel at ease. Masks come off. Once again, as people float into your awareness here, observing how your body feels without getting swept up into the story or into anything else, just observing it. Which connections feel nourishing with where you are heading, who you are now, who you're becoming, versus connections that may be draining you. Maybe they're not aligning at the moment. With regards to your authentic expression, your fullest expression. I'd like you to place a hand on where this inner power is most present for you. It's just connecting with this space in your body. And if it helps to visualize yellow, radiating, glowing from this space. With every breath, with every inhale, expanding, letting this yellow energy, this yellow ball of light expand. Creating space. For you to take up more space. For you to feel safe to be seen in your fullest expression. In this way, we're helping our bodies, our nervous systems feel familiar with this feeling, knowing that we can be in our fullest expression, we can be seen. And in your mind, I'd like you to repeat this affirmation. I am rooted and connected to my power. Just allowing that yellow, that power to fill you up. Taking 2 more deep breaths from this place. Grounded, rooted power. Having created a bit more space in there. To expand. And just placing your hands on your knees. Just starting to bring a bit of sensation, movement, very gently into your fingers. Becoming aware of the physical space you're in right now. Any sounds, the air quality, temperature. Do some neck rolls, just start to bring some gentle movement back in. Anything your body's needing right now to bring you back. Now bringing the palms of your hands together. And now cupping your eyes with your palms. And just slowly in your own time, open your eyes behind your hands. Just being in your bubble for a little bit longer. And when you feel ready, no rush, you can bring yourself back to space. Welcome back. So whilst things are maybe feeling clearer, maybe some insights came through then, I invite you to get your journals. I've just got a couple of prompts based on what I just guided you guys through. Just feel free to jot down anything that comes to you with these prompts. You can always come back to them as well. So, the first one. Which qualities in a connection help you feel expanded, supported, and fully yourself? So which qualities in a connection help you feel expanded, supported, and fully yourself? And with this prompt, what's come to me with this as well is often what we seek from others, we can provide for ourselves. Maybe sometimes what we are seeking is what we can bring to ourselves. So qualities. And the second prompt, what does your body and inner knowing need from your relationships at this moment? So what was coming through within that visualization, specifically within the connection part of being, a full body yes, feeling lit up and nourished and supported, and just there being an ease. So if you're bringing your current relationships into the mix now, what is your body telling you within that, or right now, what's it telling you that you need from your relationships? And this also brings into question around boundaries, protecting that inner power, because it's so sacred. That's your life force, right? So what are you needing? What is your body needing? And then the last prompt, which is also kind of a homework as well, just to kind of go away and reflect on, is what are you ready to ask for and claim in your relationships, but also with regards to how you show up in this fullest expression, with your solar plexus open and radiating and shining. What are you ready to claim now? The new era is here. The fire horse is coming. What are you ready to claim? And it's going to be something that you can just feel into over the next week as you go about your life. Yeah, maybe noticing that in the week of what feels expansive versus restrictive, and observing that within yourself and who you are now. So spending one more moment jotting down anything else in this moment that came through. Any words, doesn't have to make sense, doesn't have to be in complete sentences, but anything that just came through, any insights within that visualization, any aspect of that, just writing that down, getting that on paper in this moment.
All right. Wow. Thank you. That was such an epic journey. It was really vivid. Thank you.
Thank you for, all trusting me to guide you on this, on that journey. I was with you the whole time. When I do visualizations, I'm also in it, and I'm feeling into where you might be in it. And I'm like, okay, and then I did add a few things in, just intuitively, that came up for me. I was like, let's spend a bit more time in this area, and let's go over here. And so thank you for coming with me on the journey.
So folks, wanting to be aware of time, I think that with your permission, instead of doing a more extended designated Kundalini Kriya today, I'm going to offer just a few kind of micro practices one being right now, and then one to close us out at the end, just to get a little bit of movement here before we get into a little bit more ideation and lecture. How does that sound to people? Put a 1 in the chat if you have a preference for a Kriya and then a lecture, like full Kriya and then a lecture, or 2 if you're okay with breaking things up into micro practice. Just is 2 deuces. Great. All right. Cool. Awesome. So come into a tabletop position and just kind of move a little bit of this through. Harriet and I are going to share a yoga mat here. No, it's all good. So just coming into a tabletop here. Inhale as we look up, arch the spine up into a cow. Exhale into a cat. Inhale, flexing the spine up towards the sky, gaze up, chin up, look up. Exhale, rounding. Finding your rhythm here. And just kind of imagining the movement of the cerebrospinal fluid here, sending that power that we just cultivated, that sunlight that we just cultivated throughout the whole spine, not just localized to the solar plexus area, but everywhere. Maybe you want to take some intuitive movement, circling the hips, finding any sticky spots that need that radiance, that need that solar care. Finding yourself back to center. Gonna take the left toes out to like a 45-degree angle and swivel all the way up, opening up through the upper arm, the side body in a supported plank here, supported side plank. Just opening up through the body. You might want to take a couple of sweeps forward on your exhale and opening on the inhale. I'm doing an abridged version because not a lot of space here.
When you're doing a thing.
Opening up the side body here. Wonderful. Coming back to center. This time pivoting the right toes out to a 45-degree angle and coming on to the left hand. I don't know what I'm doing. Just do the other side. Yeah. And opening up through the side. Thank you for meeting me in my jet-lagged messiness today, everyone. I'm really appreciative to that. It's vulnerable to be seen. Exhale, sweeping forward. Inhale, opening back up. Taking a couple rounds of that. Finding your way back through center. This time, bringing the hands up, standing on the knees here. We'll take a little supported back bend here, a little camel pose. So placing the palms of the hands on the low back or on the heels, whichever feels supportive to you. Hopefully you can see. Taking deep breath in, up the front body, exhaling down the back body. Inhaling up the front body, exhaling down through the hands into the heels. And this really imagining the sun rising from the solar plexus up into the heart. Exhale, melting that golden sunlight down to the ground. Bringing the hands to the back if they were on the heels. Taking a couple of swings of the arms here. Resetting. And we find ourselves back. I'm gonna give you actually 2 minutes first for a little bio break to grab a drink of water and go to the bathroom if that's what you need. And then I'll see you back here in a sec. When we join back together, come cameras on so that I can tell who is present. Thank you so much. We were just gushing about how much fun we're having.
I was getting overexcited and doing my excitement squeal. I was like, I'm getting shivers. I'm feeling really good.
This is really fun. I'm like, I know, how lucky are we to get to be here together. So great. Coming back to cameras on if you're with us. I'm so happy to see everyone's faces. People look radiant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna share a little, your girl made a slide. I got my slide on. Where is it though? Classically struggling to find. Downloads? Where are you at? Here it is. Okay. Sharing this. All right. You know I'm not going to miss an opportunity to talk about Carl Jung in this solar plexus center. So just as we're going through a little bit more of the theory and the heady, please pause me whenever you have questions, and I'll try to do a good job to kind of pause myself and be present to and let unfold the information. So I'm going to come to our chart here. We're going to look at what's over on the left. So this is Jung's concept. Carl Jung is a Viennese psychologist, kind of seen as in the classical like psychology, Western psychology canon, is someone who was more on the like mystical side of things. He really did do a lot to kind of bridge, I would say, some of the more mystical and Eastern philosophies of mind into the Western world and Western framework. So there's so much I could say about Jung. I've focused on him in my thesis, and really like love and hold so much excitement for the way that he did that. And also, this is bridge knowledge, so like take it with a grain of salt, of course. And I think one thing that he did really well was very deeply study and synthesize, and also had his own depthful mystical experience to kind of root things in. And it stood the test of time. There's still, millions of people practicing Jungian psychology today. So that's just like a brief primer on Jung. I thought it would be fun to explore Jung for this week as we talk about the solar plexus, because we're inevitably confronting and meeting the concept of ego, right? And there's just so much I could say here. But visually, when you look at this chart over on the left, you can see that the ego is the supraterranean aspect of this chart, so meaning above ground, and the shadow is the subterranean, the below ground part. So as we move into our solar plexus, as we're doing this week, we're moving into the light. We're moving above ground. And the ego is sort of the vehicle through which we come into the conscious realm. The ego is a vehicle through which we come into the conscious realm. And I think what is really important here is, you'll hear a lot of talk in like spiritual realms, neo-spiritual realms, new age spiritual realms that are like, we're doing like no ego, right? No ego. Ego's bad. And it's not like that man has a big ego, like all of this like villainization of the ego. And simultaneously a lot of conversations about, oh, well, I had an ego death. Like I went to the jungle, I went to Peru, did ayahuasca, ego death. Like, and then that kind of becoming something as like a token, right? Like the dissolution of ego as like it's almost competitive. And I'm sure you're already starting to taste the irony here. We are not doing away with the ego. Like, I will not be an advocate for that. What I am an advocate for is that each of you, and myself too, as creatives and as humans living a spiritual experience, is that we have a healthy relationship with the ego, and a really intimate relationship with the ego, and understand it as a vehicle through which we experience this realm. Pause there and see if there's anything that anyone wants to add about ego, and also check my notes. Even in the Kundalini tradition that I'm sharing with you, there's that Kriya called Ego Eradicator. It's funny, like we cannot transcend something that we're not really deeply, intimately comfortable with. And it helps to kind of understand your ego as just a character, right? And
I have a question.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why my hand is up. How did that happen? Please, Natalie.
I'm curious if in this like context, you might say that the ego is sort of like if we're talking about the ideology where our spirit inhabits like multiple lifetimes, if the ego is a sort of like the person that we're dropped into in this lifetime, but the sense of self is actually something beyond that, right?
Yeah. So as per
Is
my
that kind of the idea?
understanding of things is that the self is the eternal, um, eternal like soul or
Mm-hmm.
energy that drops into all of the different ego personalities throughout all of your many lives. Um, and of course, you can have like an ego falling away, but it does come back together in this lifetime. That's um,
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's like the struggle of trying to inhabit both existences in a way. It's sort of like you can't completely do away with the physical world that your body is living in.
yeah,
You still have to exist in it, so therefore you still have to maintain some of that ego
yeah,
to
it's your
physically survive.
vehicle. Yeah, and I think just maintaining that awareness of it, right, as vehicle. Like it's
Yeah,
when we start to think we are the vehicle. we
right.
and not the driver of the vehicle or the perhaps even just passenger. You could say that spirit is the driver, you're the passenger, but that's one of the
Like
classic
in a
analogies.
sidecar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you for parsing that out. That felt really important. Um,
Cool. It just helped with the way that I'm currently thinking about the big
yeah.
picture. Yeah.
And of course, guys, I mean, as always, as with everything I share, this is one theory. If it feels resonant and exciting for you, that's awesome. But you are going to encounter so many ways to think about self and ego and mind. And I really do trust you, as per the resources that we've installed, to listen to what is creating expansion and feels like truth to you versus what I share that you're like, that's not for me. Like, just because I'm saying it does not mean you have to absorb and agree. So something here that as we kind of start to migrate over to the right side of the chart is that Jung emphasized and talked about in his book Ego and Archetypes, or is it Archetypes? I'll send you the link. I have it tabbed up, but he talks about building a strong relationship with your ego in the first half of your life, which we are all basically in. So really getting intimate with all of the stats about your character. Like, what is she like? What is she drawn towards? And knowing that that's always changing. Just getting intimate with the ego, as well as its mirror in the shadow. Like, really knowing both of these things. And I'll talk about the shadow shortly. And then in the second half of life, in the later years, as we move deeper into this process of individuation, which is Jung's term for kind of becoming aware of what we're carrying, that we can start to kind of soften the ego and release it later in life. So we're kind of like doing vehicle maintenance the first half of life, learning how our car drives. And then at a certain point, it reaches, 300,000 miles, something like this, and we start to kind of let it go. And how this relates to our creative work, right? Like, our creative work helps us to claim what we are and are not. Let's see what else there's here that I need to share. I just wrote these big, long paragraphs, you guys, so I'm really trying to, bullet this down. It's so awesome to be learning alongside you all. I think that feels really important that I name that, I'm really learning how best to share actively in real time. And that's my major visibility edge right now. And what makes my solar plexus feel alive is I'm like, I don't fully know exactly how this is going to land. So thank you for being present to that. All right. So as we move over to the right side of the chart, we have Jung's classic 12 archetypes. And each of those has an analogous shadow. archetype. So the ring that's white around it's like sort of the middle white ring that says control, mastery, safety, freedom, knowledge, liberation, power, pleasure, intimacy, belonging, service, innovation. Those are the motives. Those are 12 core motives. And the outer ring is the sort of ego archetype that exists in the persona of that entity. And the inner ring is the shadow archetype, so the one that we don't look at, don't want to look at. And as you look at this wheel right now, you'll probably have an intuitive sense of kind of where you're at, starting on that outer ring today. And if you're struggling to kind of place yourself, it might help to remember that this is always changing. And this can just be for right now, I feel like right now I feel motivated by freedom. That's where I'm at. You can kind of find on that white ring what you're motivated by right now. So once you've kind of landed on something just for this moment, again, knowing that it can always change, you can see your archetype, as well as your shadow archetype. So, once you've got that down, just kind of start to imagine some of the sub characteristics of that archetype for you, maybe some synonyms for that word, just to kind of help land it and personalize it a little bit more. So you know the motivation of that archetype, but then maybe a couple of other words around what kinds of activities that archetype participates in. What they ask for from others, what they expect, what they need. Cool. Does anybody want to share the archetype that they're with today? Some of their considerations around it. Where am I? Just shout it out if you want.
I don't mind sharing
Yeah.
mine. Yeah, I was finding it really hard to find one, but the white inner rim was really helpful, because then I started to look at that more.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the one I ended up selecting was the service, so the caregiver, service, slave, which which relates back to the people pleasing. But yeah, in a way more around wanting to be in service, to the divine, to all these things, and to support people. And there is that nurturing part, that kind of, but then the flip side of what came to mind more so was social media, and being a slave to the algorithm, or being a slave to the societal the shoulds of how to show up and how to serve, and it's but that's not resonant, and then feeling into that's not resonating, and that might work for someone to show up in that way, or share or guide or whatever, but that's not how I want to. So that's what came up for me. So that was the one that I today was mostly resonating with.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, Natalie, go for it.
So actually, I was drawn to the same one as you, Quincy, which is was motivated by freedom specifically, and looking at the shadow archetype, which is Raider, which is interesting. I actually, my own personal shadow version of that is like a prisoner more than anything, and that is something that I identify with my previous career, which is currly on hold. And I don't know, maybe I will go back. It just, 15 years in that industry felt so confining. And I'm currently in search of, the next thing, and my freedom and like my time and my energy feels like my biggest like currency, like the thing that I value the most. And I'm just being so protective of it. But also yearning to like go out and have adventures and discover, and like learning was also a word that came up. So I'm like, there is some pursuit of knowledge there too. But it's funny, they're right next to each other. So I'm like, that's interesting. I don't know if that is on purpose.
I'm noticing there's like a parallel between like the Raider shadow archetype and this desire to kind of like hoard resource in a way.
That's true. Yeah.
Like energy resource. Like as an explorer, we want to be really like free and open and receptive to things. But I think that there's the counterpole to that is that we're scarce and like want to protect the energy, protect the self. Does that feel like an accurate reflection?
Totally, it does, because that's my struggle is actually getting out and doing anything. Because I'm feeling so protective of that time. I don't want to misuse the time, but then also or waste the time. So then therefore it's hard to get out of like decision making phase, and get into action phase. And it's definitely like my solar plexus is like, this is the week that I've been really excited about. I'm like, this needs the work. Like reading my gut and getting into my body around decisions and choice has been, I think, the big lesson / struggle of my lifetime so far. So anyway, a lot of stuff to look at.
Yeah. I mean, like, show of hands, raise your hand if you relate to like being on a journey of harmonizing gut instinct and actual choice in the moment. I think one thing that feels really worth mentioning and important to name in this center too, it's like nothing is true forever, right? If it sounds daunting right now to claim one of these archetypes, it's probably because you are unconsciously creating some sort of expectation of permanence. You are going to flow and cycle through all of these. And in fact, if you look back over on the left side of things again, all of these archetypes are in what we would call the collective unconscious, which is the thing that's subterranean, right? Which is the lower half of that circle over on the left. So these exist within all of us all the time. What we're doing here in this process of identifying an archetype is just giving the ego something to hold for a while, because if the ego doesn't have something to hold, it gets destructive. And that's like, that's just kind of the dance we're doing, right? So we're always just kind of exchanging one archetype for another, and you'll start to notice how much fluency you have throughout the day. And usually you'll notice the fluency in the shadow, how quickly you can go from victim to villain, how quickly you can go from victim to tyrant to follower, like, because they feel really charged. So I'm hoping that this framework just like gives you a sort of a tool to kind of like place yourself in different moments throughout the day.
That's a really
And then,
interesting. Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I
No,
just jumped in
please.
there. Uh, I really, what you said, if you don't give the ego some like an identity,
Mm,
basically it gets
yeah,
destructive. And I feel
yeah,
like it's this ongoing thing of identity, where we're constantly trying to ask the question, like, who am I? It's like, it's the question of life that um, I think revolves around a lot of our journeys. And ultimately, the answer is like everything, and you and anyone. Um,
yeah,
but it's interesting when you think about the ego as a driver, when they're in the driver's seat, they need to ask the question, who am I? Um, yeah.
I love the paradox that you're highlighting there, Natalie, like both in the relative and the ultimate. Like we have to have something that is true for us in the relative right now, like a little piece of something that we're holding on to so that we can remember and so that we can become everything, and um, that those are just existing in simultaneity and that we're all doing that all the time. It also reminds me of something that I learned when I was in my yoga teacher training too, which was like basically we were asked to imagine a monkey, and that you give that monkey a job of just running up and down a pole all day long. And that's what we're doing when we have
Delegating a
yeah,
task to the
yeah,
ego to
yeah.
keep it, but then equally being aware that
That's
if
not, that's
anything,
not you.
no, but we
Yeah.
were saying this morning, weren't we, about identity. It's like we can be all of these things on the right, or none of them. But it's like tricky, almost the trickster thing comes in there. It's the ego, yeah, like we can be the caregiver. So, and then that kind of soothes it. But
Yeah.
as you were saying, it's then actually, so we can, it's really
Yeah,
interesting
both
actually.
being true
The
at
monkey
once.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I found interesting that outlaw and criminal are on the same
Yeah.
like good and bad. Um, liberation, it definitely
Interesting.
liberation for me. I mean, freedom and liberation for me feel very similar, but liberation kind of feels like like there's like a current stuckness. I don't know, freedom, I guess, as well, but
Yeah, liberation
yeah,
feels like the breaking away of something. Freedom almost feels like a remembrance to me.
yeah,
Liberation being like there's like a rupture with liberation almost.
right. Yeah, it's interesting.
That is so interesting. I want to be aware of time. I know we're coming up on an hour and a half. How are people feeling? What do people need? Is there anyone who needs to leave at like sharp on the hour and a half? That's such great news. We can keep hanging out. Okay. Well, let me see what else I have to call in. I'm looking back at my notes. Any questions before we move forward a little bit? Any other noticings around the archetypes? This is what I want to go to.
I like how the chart on the right looks like an eyeball. It looks like a pupil. Like, yeah, I just wanted to point that out because it's exciting to me. I feel like there's so much symbolism in that alone.
Yeah, I love that too. Yeah. So just something to, one other tool to kind of just be present with this coming week in the exploration of the archetype. And there are so many sub-archetypes you could kind of place yourself in. Um, Yeah, there's a freedom in claiming. And in that claiming, getting to remember that you're none of it. Yeah, I'm hoping that that's felt right here. I'm kind of sitting in that myself. So there's one other thing I kind of wanted to touch in on here. which is the distinction between energy and force. Feels really important. I know we talked a little bit about this idea of resistance as proof that we care, when it comes to our creativity and to our process. There is a distinction made in traditional Chinese medicine between two different types of qi, or life force, or prana. So one of them is natural, like ever-flowing, easily arising, and then one is exerted, is like force. And I'm sure if you've ever seen any of the like Bruce Lee movies, right? And they're talking about like Wu Wei, which is like the water way. And it's like using the energy that is just already always there, just by nature of the person being a blood pumping human, and like basically that amplifying the movement that's already there and making that a weapon almost. This feels really important when it comes to our creative practice, I think, because if we are able to tune into the subtleties like we've been doing in the last 4 weeks together, I can't believe we've been together for a month, we can start to find like these really subtle movements and forces, and then amplify and expand them into something more meaningful. But it feels important to name like that when you're doing something that's like resonant and aligned, there's a natural energy. Yeah. Like it doesn't feel, it feels like you are just kind of expanding one of those microcosmic movements. It feels very natural. And if you're not in attunement with that point of like natural energy, and you're forcing, you're more likely to have that energy broken or harm yourself or like be co-opted by an external force. Like it's a much more fragile and limited quality, and you can only force in short bursts. So I'm definitely not saying, oh, you need to be all in flow, you need to be going only from energy, there's no need to ever force anything. This is just a call to awareness that if you're forcing constantly, that may not be sustainable. And it's your dance and your balance between I'm utilizing the energy that is just already here and naturally arising, and then I know when to apply the gas a little bit and bring in a little bit of force, knowing that force is not necessarily a sustainable frequency. And I think that if you've read the book Steal Like an Artist, he talks about this really, really beautifully, how important letting yourself be idle or restful is for replenishing that energetic well. And again, a delicate balance, right? But I also think that you would have something special to say about this as a yin teacher too. Like, why do nothing? And like, how does that serve you as an artist to be in that?
Yeah, I guess it goes back to feeling, which I kind of brought in actually intuitively with the visualization earlier, of feeling comfortable within our bodies and our being with emptiness, with space. And that's what yin does. In moments of stillness, you are just with this, not emptiness, we associate being an emptiness as being this bad thing or being low or depressed or whatever, but no, actually just more of a way of when there's stillness, there's then space for things to flow in. If we're constantly cramming our lives, our time, whatever it is, we do tend to do that, right? We do things. I am the worst at multitasking, and I have to catch myself more at the moment. Of I'm cooking, I've got a podcast on, there's like so many things, and I'm like, no, like let's just strip it back. So yeah, I mean it's really around that, creating that space that emptiness clearing for intuition to flow through, for nudges, for things. Otherwise we can't fully feel it and zone into it, right? If there's so much stuff and it's like a cluttered room, trying to find a space to just be in a cluttered room, it's like that maybe. So but yeah, thanks for bringing it in.
So I can feel the difference in my body right now between trying to exist and make space for myself in a cramped room versus one that I've allowed to empty. Yeah, that's potent. And I also appreciated, Harriet, your mention of relationship and how important these relationships are as we move into the center, because we're coming out from underground and we could view the archetypes as a relationship to self and the archetype as a relationship to self that helps us understand our relationships to other people. And in the solar plexus, you know, having procured safety and awareness of our passion in the first two centers, we can kind of start to let that move us out into the world of connection and socialization and begin to find mirrors and companions for ourselves out in the world. And we cannot expect to find those mirrors and companions for ourselves out in the world if we're not visible and we're not allowing ourselves to be seen and to radiate. So I think that that's, you know, visibility being a huge part of this center for both of us and definitely in our personal experiences.
And can I add as well to that of like with that being seen, it's like, you know, a lot of us seek, you know, wanting to be seen, but actually it starts with seeing ourselves. And I like that you mentioned about the root and the sacral and that going under earth, really looking at the grounding and looking at the anchoring, really, isn't it? To then allowing with the solar plexus to actually like peep out. It's funny, I know we speak of the sun and this kind of radiance, but sometimes though feeling seen or being seen isn't necessarily standing on a table going, look, you know, it isn't that. It can just be really soft and gentle in some intimate way of even with one person, or you know, or with a pet or something, or you know, like in connection, just to kind of show vulnerability or just show you know, it doesn't have to be this like massive loud right, it can just be solid,
that's
rooted.
Such a good reminder. It can be these like little glimpses
and like popping out and then maybe going back underneath again, but but really it comes down to honoring that and what you need.
That's so great. All right, we weren't really deep. We're gonna kind of sweep this through the body. I'm just gonna offer a little breath of fire here for a moment. So bringing first the eyes closed, hand to the heart, hand to the high belly. Kind of calling in grace and calling in integration here. There's a lot of ideas that we just threw at you, and so washing away anything that's not meant to stick here with your next breath. Softening into anything that is. Physiologically, the solar plexus is related to this diaphragm, right? Which we use a lot in our Kundalini yoga practices, which we've done a few times. So as we find a straight spine here, coming to that perfect lifted, floating balance point on the spine, just going to ask you to take a deep breath in, and then all the way out, kind of pressing on the belly, feeling the movement of that diaphragm. And when we come to breath of fire, we'll look a little bit like this, where we're moving the navel, pumping the navel in and out quite rapidly, and massaging that diaphragm, which is a great way to integrate some of the movement that we've been doing here already mentally, bringing it down into the body. So let's inhale all together. We'll take breath of fire for about a minute. And begin. Keeping it going, just as a reminder, we have an active exhalation, passive inhalation. Exhaling all the way out, inhaling, filling all the way up. Squeeze, Uddiyana Bandha, root lock, Mula Bandha, and the chin lock. And exhale, soften. It's a great breath for stoking that inner fire. Beautiful way to bring us into a physical sense of what power feels like in the body. Aware of time. I'm going to allow space for any final questions, and then we'll close with a little chant. I hope you feel energized by that breath of fire. It's a nice, kind of sparkly experience. So we're going to create a fire mudra with the hands. So bringing the palms together.
My hands sweaty.
Mine are too.
They're not actually.
And when you pause, feeling the space between the hands, the turning on of that vibrance, the radiance of the solar plexus. We're going to bring thumb and pointer finger to meet. And then we're going to join ring down as well with the thumb. So we have this shape. It's a fire mudra. Hold it right here at the sides. To close our practice this evening, we're just going to chant the seed syllable for the solar plexus 3 times all together. And that sound is Ram. Ram. So I'm sure you've heard sun being referred to as Ra. That's like the elemental fire sun syllable. Ram. So we'll inhale all together. Exhale. Connecting to the people in this space through space and time. Inhaling. Center, I thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for being with me as I adjust, being with yourselves as you navigate being everything, and in your specificity as well as your plurality. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'll share a little bit of homework. What's next? Yeah. Okay. You're so welcome. I'm going to send homework just in our WhatsApp group instead of here, just so that folks can get moving on with their evenings. But yeah, expect visibility and expect vulnerability in the coming week.
And yeah, what was the problem? Was claiming it.
Claiming
wanting
something
to claim this week and connecting with what feels expansive, what feels restrictive, just being aware of that. Thank you for having me all.
Yeah.
And it's been, I've had so much fun. I feel very lit up.
It's such a good
ready
feeling.
to,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're here in Bali.
So glad
This is
to.
crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And also feel free, like throughout the week, you know, if you're realizing that working in this kind of like more micro practice way is effective for you, I totally just invite that as well. Like maybe you're just sitting down to write or paint or draw or whatever, and you're like, you know what, I liked this. Like I'm just gonna be with this for a few breaths, or I'm gonna do breath of fire, or I'm gonna do some movements that open the front body and the belly, whether that's reverse plank, a camel, just kind of, you know, coming into awareness of the ribs in these like glimpses. All right. I'm sending you all so much love and sweet dreams. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.